I was trying to think of like the best way to get into this. And it's interesting, we started off talking about San Francisco and the Bay Area and, how you have long musical roots there. When I think about the Bay Area, both musically and just sort of culturally in the last couple decades, it's gone through so many phases. It's always the Bay, but it's always every couple of years, I feel like people shuffle in and shuffle out and it kind of has a new identity or a new vibe to it. Does it feel different to you from when you first moved there in significant ways, or does it still feel pretty familiar?
I mean, it still feels pretty familiar. I mean, obviously, there's been a crazy amount of development, in the city. Just buildings going up and areas I remember definitely there's one area I was I moved out there, so I was give it now 15 years, this whole place is going to just be super nice buildings, and it was super industrial,
right,
shipping yards and stuff, and nowadays it's super nice and gorgeous, and that's where the new basketball stadium is and stuff is down in that area. So,
right.
Yeah.
Do you feel like the dance scene? How have you seen that change in the Bay Area? Because I think that's another part of it that, especially when you first started, and obviously the Dirtybird crew and all that, it was such a strong identity that was, at least in my mind, so strongly tied to the Bay. And since then, there's been, other people who have come along and put their flag in it. Does that part of the scene feel different to you from back in the day?
It feels, bigger now. I feel like when we were starting off, the dance scene was pretty small and more intimate. Yes, there were some pretty big parties and whatnot, but I feel like I would go to these parties and I know most of the people there, and we're all, just the people were super into it. Obviously, just go out every weekend, most of the parties, and that aspect's still there. Those kind of groups are still there, and they still go to their parties and stuff. Some of those older crews that are still throwing parties. But yeah, and then there's just a different a new influx of younger dance music fans, and obviously dance music is super big now. When we were starting off, it was very underground, and people, it wasn't mainstream, in a way. And I don't think even Coachella was booking dance acts just yet and stuff,
Yeah.
It was just kind of starting off. But yeah, just to see dance music kind of grow and and Dirtybird grow with that. I definitely recognize just being at our parties and seeing it grow, and all of a sudden I don't know. It was when you were just looked out in the crowd, and I was I don't know most of these people now,
Absolutely.
Before we look out, I know most of the people. It's as we got bigger, and then just and it's cool. There's a new energy, with new people coming into the scene, and So it's recognizable to me. Obviously, venues come and go and stuff like that, but I'd say the vibe's still there. It's pretty similar. There's been some influx of I don't know. I don't even know what you would think, but obviously there's way more people and younger than me at this point.
You and me both. Yeah. Do you feel like there's still a definable Bay Area sound for dance music? Because another part of this too is I feel like when you first started in Dirtybird and all them, you helped define what I knew at the time as the Bay Area sound for dance music. And now if I try to think about it, and maybe it's just because I'm not there all the time, I don't know what I would call the Bay Area sound now.
Yeah, I don't think it's, as recognizable. I feel like everything's kind of really gotten, inspired by what was happening in these different areas, and it's kind of congealed into whatever dance music is now. Dirtybird's definitely doing its we were kind of doing like our like own thing like back then. And it was like inspired by just like all the different music that we came up with, which was like, drum and bass, the house music scene that was happening here with kind of like the naked music, more, classical, like vocally house. And then there was like the like more techno side of stuff that some people were playing from like Berlin, that crew was playing. And then we had like the hip hop and like hyphy, like music. And I think those are like the areas where I think that where Dirtybird kind of like brought in like all those like different sounds and like created its kind of its own thing, like bringing those like big drum and bass, like, bass sounds into like house music and trying to like just push it forward. Like nowadays, I think all that's like kind of just congealed and like gone out into like the ether, into the whole world. And it's like everybody's like got inspired from whatever those like roots were. And it's like, I don't think there's like one like particular like sound I know of at the moment that's just like, oh, that's like super original in like Bay Area or something like within the dance that I've heard.
Well, and I think that goes along with cultural trends in general, right? Because I think about, back in the mid to late 2000s, every major city had this definable style, right? And, you go to San Francisco and you'd hear Dirtybird kind of music. You'd go to Chicago and you'd hear like Booty House and Juke, and there's all, you go to New York and there's this like cool disco and warehouse stuff going on, and kind of everywhere had that. And I think it's something we kind of lost along the way with the rise of the internet and everybody working with everybody, listening to everybody. It's sort of a weird inverse, because at the same time that was happening, we were also losing our monoculture in terms of pop culture, right? Where now everything's totally fragmented, but somehow musically, all of those fragments have gotten mixed together so that it's harder to identify now where something came from. It's kind of weird.
Yeah, I think it also has to do with, the way like music was like accessed back, especially in those early days. Like Dirtybird was kind of like at the cusp of like that switch over from like vinyl to like, waves and MP3s and all those like formats. And I think like when you're, probably trying to like find those sounds, like, and it's harder to find them, and you have to like really dig for them at a record store, and you can't really go online like and easily like just like hear everything and see what like other people are just like. I feel like now it's like we have these charts like that didn't really exist back then, like where you went to the record store and like here's the top 10 like sellers, like it was like, and I missed that like part of like the record store experience where you would go in and you'd have like somebody there and they'd be like, hey, can you like, especially once you start like getting friends with somebody, then they come in and be like, hey, let me pull you some records. Like, I think you would probably like, because you tend to gear towards these records and maybe some other stuff that they're like, this is really cool. You should check this out, Which was a different way, like that things were like kind of curated back then that we lost. It's like, oh, here's this top 100,
Yeah. No, I completely agree. I mean, it's two elements for me. It's the curation element, the human curation element, that even though, take like a Spotify algorithm or something, which it is good at showing you other music that you might not know and maybe you'd like. Like, I think it does an okay job of that. But I think all these algorithms fall into the same trap. It's what we're seeing with like how AI chatbots and all that are programmed to like affirm the views you already have, and kind of you end up being in this bubble, whether you know it or not. Whereas say you go into the record store back in the day and the human curator is much more able to break you out of that and be like, okay, well, if you like this, maybe you'd like this thing that's in a totally different dimension, but they share this connective tissue, whatever it may be. And it's a hard thing to describe, but I know you know what I mean, but it's like the human curation thing is so different from the algorithm-based curation in a way that, I don't think I could ever convince a tech executive that it matters, but I really think it does,
Yeah. Well, I think there's like different feelings and vibes you can get from like music. And like, I don't think like you could ever really teach that to like an algorithm per se, you know?
Yeah. Computers not great with vibes in general.
Yeah. Like, yeah, okay. Like, oh, these are like these keys. You'll probably like this. I don't know how the algorithm's written, but
yeah, I don't either, but yeah. Well, I mean, let's talk a little bit more about your journey even to get to this time period we're talking about. You were from the DC area originally, and then, am I right, you ended up in New York at a certain point?
Yeah, I was in New York for school, for college.
What were you going to school for?
Let's see, I started off as photography, and then I switched over to computers, like computer science back then.
This is like what, late 90s we're talking about?
Yeah, late 90s, like 8, 9, 2000, 2001, I was there.
At that time, what was your level of awareness or involvement with dance music, if any?
Oh, yeah, no, that was like the start for me. Like, yeah, that's actually where I met Justin Martin for the first time. Like, we were, ended up being like good friends there.
Oh, that's interesting. He's such a character.
Oh yeah, he's just
was he the same guy back then? He's such a unique dude.
Yeah, he's always been this like, I don't know, ball of like crazy energy in the best possible way. But yeah, like, you know, yeah, just kind of like stumbled. I like knew, like I was like searching for it, you know, but I just didn't have like the connection to it. And that's like, yeah, got up there and like I just like met these girls who were like, you know, going to parties and grew up like we're from the area and kind of like knew the parties to go to and kind of like it's like, oh, this is what I was looking for a long time. Like I didn't know what it was, but
so did you before then, did you hear a song or a mixtape or anything or see a show that really like set off some lights in your brain and made you think you want to explore this more?
Probably like listening like maybe like stumbling on like Lords of Acid like back then.
Right.
That was kind of like early like electronica, and I don't know, like I just knew like I had heard like some stuff over the years, and I was like, oh, this electronic music stuff's like really interesting, but I couldn't find it. Like I didn't know how to like access it until I got to New York.
Right. Yeah. Was it the kind of thing where you heard it, but didn't really have like a friend group around that was super into it? And so it was sort of this mysterious thing out there.
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of like I heard about it. And I don't know, like, I mean, I was in like the punk rock, like DC hardcore scene back then. So for me, I was just kind of like, I'm over this, like this aggression in music, you know, in a way. And, finding like dance music, and I think like jungle for me was kind of like the access. Like, oh, it's like a bit aggressive, but you know, like it's got something else to it.
Totally. No, I was very similar. It just shifted genres slightly. I was like a big metalhead as a kid, and then got into like happy hardcore and, you know, hard style, and, you know, the same thing where I was like, oh, this is aggressive in a way I recognize, but also there's melodies and grooves. And, you know, from there, it was just a pretty quick journey to get into the whole thing.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, pretty similar.
Yeah, 100%. Were you in bands, like hardcore bands, any of that?
Yeah, a little bit. You know, I was like playing with some friends from high school, you know, make some like little bands and have some fun. And I mean, I was always okay with like playing guitar, like and stuff. And I was into like the idea of like recording stuff. I had like a 4-track. I would try and like write my own like different parts too. So I think like, yeah, the recording, like the idea of like making music and recording was there from a pretty early age on. So just messing around with music.
Yeah. Was there a point, this is probably skipping ahead a little bit, but was there a point when you sort of recognized you were getting more serious about it, where it kind of transitioned from hobby or passion into like, maybe I can actually do something with this here?
I think like when I remember back to it was like going through college, and like towards the end, I was like, oh, I'm gonna like do like computer like science like stuff, like program, and you know, have a good decent job. And like I want to like start like a record label was like kind of like my dream, like back then was like, oh, I can do this, and I don't want to do music, as like this other thing.
Right. Yeah, that's so funny because that is like I relate to what you're saying because it's sort of the good kid version of jumping into the music industry where you're like, well, I really want to get into this, but I guess I have to figure out the more reasonable path here. Maybe if I frame it in a business context of,
Well, how can I like support this like endeavor? Like,
right.
With something solid, and then go forward with it. So.
It's also funny to think about back in the day when record labels were like a solid idea,
It was like, oh yeah, you can make good money on it.
Yeah. That's another thing we may have lost along the way, but yeah. Well, so in New York, you said you met, some girls who knew the right parties to go to. What parties were those? I'm always curious, like, what was that scene like, New York in the late 90s, early 2000s, just in terms of like the parties that you were going to, the venues, who you were seeing, the music. When we look back now, I think that's like a really important time for nightlife and dance music. It's like New York in the 90s and early 2000s.
Yeah, it was the first stop I went to were like at this place called like this old club called Carbon, obviously not there anymore. And it was like house in one room and like a jungle room, and then I think that had something else going on. But like the house room was like, it's like the chocolate factory. It was like Onions and Joeski and I don't know, like maybe like Bad Boy Bell and Charles Feel Good and I don't know, kind of like the East Coast like scene, I guess.
Yeah.
And then like the jungle room was like DJ Dara and like Diesel Boy and I can't remember who else would be in there. But that was like the first place I went to, and I was like, oh wow, this is so cool. This is it. And then like, and then I started like going to like Twilo. I would see like Sasha and Digweed play back then, like Paul Van Dyke. And then like seeing like, I don't know, I mean I saw like a lot of crazy acts, and I think back to like Cassius like play at Twilo. LTJ Bookham, like a lot of the old jungle guys. I can't remember like everybody's name at this moment.
No, of course. Yeah, I'm sure there's a million shows too. They all blend in, but it's just fun for me to think about because so many of those people, it's all legendary names, and a lot of those people are still touring now. But it's so cool when you can look back and identify that you were there when the formative thing was happening. You know what I mean? Because all those people you just named, I mean, went on to have such a crazy influence on dance music and, I think have built a pretty crazy legacy for themselves. But to actually be there at the time, because of course you don't realize it at the time. At the time, it's just like, I'm going to this cool thing. But then it's fun to just look back and realize that maybe some of like how you ended up was because of those formative events. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I would definitely say like the Twilo like nightclub was probably like the biggest influence on me. Like those like venues, it was another like level of like sound. It was the first like function one in the United States, and you just like really get lost in there. It was a really cool venue.
Yeah, I mean I never got to go, but it's such a legendary place. Did it feel like the kind of thing where you discovered a secret? You know what I mean? Yeah, I mean, it's definitely, I think that's when I was just like really like let go to the music, in a way. And, and like the cool thing about it was like not even like about, like it was about seeing the DJ and stuff, but like they were like in like a tiny booth, not much bigger than like my desk. Like it was like, just like kind of like separated off from the dance floor a little bit, but it wasn't like we're on a giant stage with like LED like lights behind them. It was like they're just playing and like the whole room is like lights and like to feel like that experience, which you just don't see that anymore. Like at dance clubs, it's not like everybody's there to like look at the DJ. It's like no, back in the day it was about like the DJ playing the music and you just let it go to the music and just dancing and not like caring about like watching them be like put their hands in the air. 100%. I mean, that's universal. You're absolutely right. was that a weird thing for you to navigate because I feel like, correct me if I'm wrong, but my understanding of kind of your career path is you started first being known kind of at the same time that people first really started wanting to like look at the DJ and have the DJ be the rock star. And, obviously like 90s electronic acts laid the groundwork for that. But to me, it's like the mid 2000s and really the late 2000s is when we started seeing, the DJ as rock star. Everybody wants to look at the DJ kind of thing. And it must have been strange to kind of get into it with one understanding of the dynamic and then to watch it change as you're building your own career, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I didn't it didn't really faze me that much or having me think about it that much because it was I don't know, some places were smaller dance, DJ booths, and then other places were it was more of a stage with in the light show coming on behind you. So it was kind of just there, the blending of it all. And, a lot of the parties I went to, the DJ was the center of the attention, everybody's dancing around them. And so, as I got bigger and bigger, bigger stages, it just kind of felt, I guess, just a natural progression in a way of and I was thinking well, if this thing's going to get big, it's going to have something more than just one person just standing there and then, on the stage, because there's not somebody running around with a microphone, keeping your attention.
Yeah, no, of course. Some of it is just logical growth. You're right. And for you, when did you start DJing? Was that also in New York?
I was in New York, yeah. So right when I got to New York, my first year, I was oh, I want to DJ. I was this looks super cool and super fun. I need to learn how to do this.
How did it go? How did you learn?
I bought I had just a pretty okay janky belt driven record player that I was playing my 12 inches and 7 inches on back then. And then I got a second one that was a Gemini that was a solid state, and then I got a mixer and a friend in Philadelphia. I don't know, it was a big mix match of stuff. And so I learned on one turntable that had no ability for you to pitch shift on, and the other one was just stuck.
Right.
So I had to learn how to reverse engineer in a way the transition I had to tune this one down that's actually playing and
that's really interesting. Yeah.
So I think it definitely gave me a really solid foundation for DJing, and beat matching. It's so difficult at first.
Yeah. It's how they take the practice swings in baseball with the weighted donut on it, and then they take it off for the actual swing. It's totally that.
Yeah, definitely. So that was the start, and Justin and I were that was Justin and I were good friends then, and we were just DJing in my room and having fun and, kind of just imagine ourselves playing for lots of people.
Of course.
Daydreaming. Probably drinking a 40.
Yeah, the standard college activities. That sounds pretty good. Were you making music at that time, or did that come a little later?
That came a little bit later after I moved to San Francisco. I mean, it was definitely one of those things I really wanted to do. It was I kept on sticking with the DJing and stuff, and I was just oh yeah, I really want to get one of these crazy groove boxes, I think they were called, that they had back then, and but couldn't afford it back then. And then and then the software started popping up, and that's when I started finally really making some stuff. I remember there was a early Reason thing that where they had a 303 or emulator or an 808 emulator. And that was kind of the first stuff. And then the full Reason came out, and I was oh, this is super cool. And I had no idea really what I was doing, but it's still figuring it out. I feel I feel it's never ending process of learning how to produce well and engineer and all these things.
Yeah. I mean, I completely relate to that too. It is funny because sometimes I feel there are people out there who get to a certain point and they're just oh no, I'm good. I know how to do it. I'm good at this now. And it's a mentality I'm always jealous of, because the reality is that any one of us, you, me, anybody who's been able to make a long career out of this, obviously you know what you're doing and you're good at it, but internalizing that for me has never been like, I could say any given day I sit down in front of Ableton and can be completely convinced. I'm like, oh, I don't know how to do anything. And if I ever did, it's all gone. And then, you make a song and you're like, oh, okay, well, I guess I did one more, but I still don't know.
I feel like it's a never ending process with music and creation, and especially when I get to collaborate with somebody, I'm always seeing something new that I haven't seen before, like some VST or some way of I don't know, doing some engineering aspect of it. So,
well, I was listening to, a lot of your music, getting ready to talk with you, and I was going pretty far back because, I remember back in the Bloghouse days is I think when I first heard your music, and, I'm going back to songs like Bird of Prey or Bomba or, the 2007, 2008 era, which was kind of when I was coming up in Chicago at the time. And, and I loved your music back then, and I love your music now. Obviously, there's changes. I'm sure technologically you make music slightly differently than you did back then as well. But is that a thing you're able to identify? Is it a thing you think about in terms of your sound from then to now? Do you see it as having changed significantly? Do you feel like you do it differently now in a significant way than you did back then?
I think so. Yeah. It's definitely a much different way my music sounds now, and I don't really remember how I made those songs back then.
That's interesting.
It felt I don't know, not as smooth as I feel I can go with writing music nowadays, which is interesting. And obviously my production's gotten a lot better and a lot cleaner, and
sure, of course.
Yeah, and doing EQing and all these things that you just kind of slowly have to get better at, and your ear gets better at hearing things. But yeah, those songs are cool. I just I heard Bamba not the other day because they put it on the friendship Spotify playlist. I was oh my god, I totally forgot about that song.
That was big at the time. I remember I feel like a bunch of people were playing that in Chicago at the time. And one thing I do think is kind of some connective tissue from the old songs to the new songs. I was listening to Smokeshow, your new one, and other new tracks or recent tracks I really liked. Fig Mouth I really like, and there's been a bunch, but I think for me what ties it together is there's a sense of bounce, or a sense of a certain rhythmic pocket that you hit that's really propulsive. It's really pleasing to my ear anyway, and it's one of those intangible things that I think you can't just point to a song and say this is the example of that. But I do feel there's a certain rhythmic sensibility, a certain groove that has been sort of a hallmark of a lot of your music over the years. I don't know if that resonates with you at all.
No, I think that resonates with me. I think there's always some kind of movement or baseline and drum kind of propulsion that I have to have there to get me excited and keep me moving. And I feel in a way my music's always kind of a little bit more a little headier, psychedelic in a way, especially Fig Mouth or something like that. That one's just crazy, drawn out,
yeah, that one's fun.
Super crazy on you. But yeah, those have always been I don't know, some of the things I really love in my music is when I can get really just lost in a vibe with it. And I think part of that comes from obviously just being part of dance music. Also I think being out at Burning Man and stuff events like that, where you can kind of just really go with your music and let it take you places. I think whenever I'm producing in some aspect, that's in my head a little bit, imagining the track that I want to play out there in a way, in different areas, in different places, because I think that really has all the sounds I love.
Yeah, I've heard that from other people I've talked to on this show too, of kind of a method for creativity is to try to sort of soundtrack moments. You know, you imagine where you'd be or where you'd hear it or who would be playing it, and like actually trying to soundtrack what you're seeing in your mind, I think is actually a really cool way to go about it. Because, you know, it is a weird dichotomy of like, we're making music for large groups of people to dance to in public, but we're making it by ourselves in private in a quiet room, you know?
Yeah, definitely. I think that's a really cool way of like doing it too. Is like, you're like, okay, like, well, I want to make something for like this moment. I remember like, what was it, like when Chris like and like Fisher were playing like Coachella like a couple years ago? I was just like watching it on my TV, you know, like with the live stream, and then like it ended, and I just like got on my computer and like just started writing out this like crazy track, just like being like, oh, like I'm like just kind of hearing what they were playing a little bit and like creating something for like that moment, for like that kind of set.
Right.
I might not be like really fast because I was just like in the moment with like in my head, like, okay, like this is what I would want to hear, you know?
Totally. And that's another really good point too, is jumping on the inspiration when you have it, you know, like you're saying, like, yeah, you do it really fast if you have the idea and it's an exciting idea, because it can fly out of your head just as fast, you know?
Yeah, definitely. You have to go with like, when you have the, or like the flow, just to go with it.
If you look back, like say, you know, so you're in New York, you have these experiences, these clubs, these nights, these DJs that really inspire and start to shape you and the way you see dance music. What does it look like once you get to San Francisco? Because I think, you know, it's funny we're talking about these moments, Burning Man, these moments of Chris Lake and Fisher at Coachella, but I guarantee that, you know, you and the rest of the Dirtybird crew created some of those moments for people in the Bay back then as well, you know?
Yeah, I mean, so like, yeah, I came out, I visited like Justin, and he kind of took me around a bit. And I was like, he was kind of just like egging me on, like, come out. He's like, yeah, come out to the Bay. Like, the scene's really good here. And I was back in DC and I really wasn't feeling it. And I was just like, I came out and visited, and I was like, all right, I'm coming out here. And yeah, it was like first ones just like going like this place called The Top. That's kind of still around, different name now, but yeah, it was like cool, like little Sunday night like dance party. And yeah, it was just like a really cool, like fun, like vibrant scene. I started just like meeting everybody and just like realizing like people go to these events, it's like almost all the same people, because it's a, you know, San Francisco's a big city, but it's also kind of a small town in a way too.
Yeah.
Especially within the scenes. And yeah, it was you know, getting inspired. There was a group called Sunset that like was throwing like free parties, and they threw outdoor parties during the summer, and that was really the inspiration for Dirtybird. And yeah, Christian Martin, legend as a legend goes, he bought a sound system and he threw on his credit card and just bought this like, you know, big sound system. And that kind of like really sparked it all. Like, and obviously I was like friends with Justin, and Justin, I met Christian, and then Barkley, like somehow like Justin knew him through like his parents or something. I don't know, some kind of weird connection. And that's kind of like how like the four of us like ended up meeting to start Dirtybird. And so, yeah, because of Sunset, we were like, well, let's throw our own like event. And that's how we started like throwing like the free parties in Golden Gate Park out here. And then that just like really grew like really fast. Like it was a couple of years and like it was blowing up.
Yeah. I mean, it's so cool. And I should know this, but I don't. So is the party came before the label, right? The Dirtybird party? Yeah.
So the parties before the label. And yeah, I remember like, I think I was doing like our second year, like our first one was like obviously like we had like 30 or 40 people there. And then like, so I remember like toward the end of like our second year of doing it, like, and I looked out and just like this whole meadow was like full of people. And I was just like, oh wow, like people are catching on to this event now, you know?
Was it always in Golden Gate Park for those first few years?
Yeah, we were always at pretty much the same spot. I think maybe we moved to like once, but a different space in like Golden Gate Park.
That's such a moment in time too. Like I feel like you wouldn't be able to throw that party in Golden Gate Park now. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't think you could like on that same level. But yeah, that like party grew, and then we got like a monthly like event like at a smaller club, and then we started going like more legitimate, where we'd like take the funds that we made from the event at the nightclub, and we put that into like start buying like permits and everything, so we could be legit and like. But yeah, to like start something off like that from like nothing like in that way. Like I don't know if you could do that like these days. Probably, maybe good. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, there's definitely like cool underground events still happening in major cities, but I feel like you can't. In an iconic place like Golden Gate Park, they're cracking down on that. It's like I think these days the underground events are happening in. I mean, ironically, I guess sort of back to the 90s in like abandoned warehouses and more off the grid kind of spaces.
Yes, definitely.
Did you guys have any awareness at the time that, beyond just watching it grow really fast, that you were doing something sort of different, something that was gaining its own identity? Like, was the idea, I guess I should even ask this first, is, coming together to throw the parties in the first place, was it just, we've seen these other cool parties, I bet we could do something like this? Or was there any thought of like the musical identity of the party at that point?
I wouldn't say that we were like, this is the kind of music we were going to play, or like, anything like in like that aspect. But we're all really just inspired, I think, musically by the same stuff. So it kind of was an easy like blend for like the four of us to like come together and start playing music, because we all liked similar things, and obviously everybody had like their own like little like areas that they would go off into more, and then like as we were all starting to make music and stuff, that was add another like extra like layer of like, well, I want to break this, and that was like play something new for like everybody,
yeah
more competition in a way. Healthy competition, I would say.
Absolutely. Yeah. Once the party, a couple of years in, the party's blowing up, you're starting to make music. Is that also when you started touring more?
Yeah, it was like everybody was starting to like do well, like Justin and Barkley obviously kind of like had things happening. And that inspired me to like kind of start getting into it and start touring. I don't really remember like where the first place I played was. I wish I do. Like when that kind of like started up.
Right.
It was probably LA, I imagine.
Yeah, I mean, do you have any memories just in general of the first couple years of touring? It doesn't even have to be a crazy story, but anything that still kind of pops into your head now and then from the early years?
I mean, most of my memories from back then are just like really about like those parties and in the park, and then like our smaller party, like club party, until I got to like the really big venue, which was Mezzanine, and got that. And just like, I think those stick with me more, because those were like the things that we were creating. Especially like the first Mezzanine party we did was like, I think it was like the first Friday after like New Year's, and like they were just like, okay, well, like we'll let these people have like a night. Like our friend was kind of working there, and that connection, and we got in the door, and like we filled the place up, and they were like, what the heck? I wasn't really expecting much out of us,
right?
And yeah, we filled up their like giant venue, and that was just like, okay, like yeah, like things like those progressions like down the line, seeing things go, seeing things getting bigger. Yeah, a lot of it's like blurry, like just like, where did I go to the like first couple of years, and like, I mean, yeah, I remember Justin and I, like there was like a Dirtybird, like kind of like residency like in New York, like early on, that we were all kind of like rotating through. I can't remember what that venue was, but it was pretty cool, and just different events, one-offs here and there, and then just starting to get booked on my own. And but most of the time I was playing with one of the other like people from Dirtybird.
Sure, yeah. Well, and I mean that's a fun way to do it, right? Is you just build something with your friends that people connect to, and all of a sudden you're doing the thing you thought was cool in the first place, but just for a lot more people. Was there a certain point? I mean, you mentioned obviously like Barclay with Claude Von Stroke and Justin Martin. I mean, they had some big things happen at certain points that kind of took them to other levels. Was there a certain point for you that you felt like you kind of needed to not step out on your own, but sort of to define what you were doing outside of Dirtybird?
Yeah, it was kind of early on, like, because I'd always wanted, like I was saying, was like do a record label. So for me, like that was like just taking control of my own music and being able to put it out on my own terms. It was like really big to me because Barclay was the one running the label, and there was like, well, you can only get like, I'm only going to sign like whatever, so many tracks, or like, or your track has to be like, something that he likes. And I was like, okay, well, I need to have a place where I can put out music that I like, So that's why I started my label like pretty early on. And that kind of like, that kind of really just paved the way for me, like making my own name for myself outside of like, just like being part of like Dirtybird, even though like Dirtybird is going to be like the biggest thing for me.
Is your label still going? This is another thing I should know, but don't.
No, I closed it down during the pandemic. I was getting a bit burned out on it, honestly. It was fun, but I don't know. I was just like, I was just definitely having like I don't know, just like a loss of like passion with it, and I just kind of wanted to just be able to like concentrate on writing music.
Yeah. I mean, everything's got its season. That makes sense to me. And I mean, the pandemic obviously upended everything for everybody. And I had read an interesting quote from you too, sort of going back to like how your sound has changed over time. Because I know obviously around that time is when you started transitioning as well. And I read a quote from you, sort of correct me if I'm wrong, but my interpretation was that the transitioning process for you felt like also unlocked kind of a new level or a different kind of creativity in your music writing.
Yeah. I think being kind of disconnected emotionally from myself in a lot of ways, it was really kind of hard to like describe like how, like what that felt like or even see what that was like. But like, I didn't really know like that I was like kind of cut off emotionally. It came up a lot in my like relationships with people. They'd be like, oh, there's something going on there,
Right. Yeah.
I think like, breaking down those like walls, like let me like truly like start hearing music a bit differently. And also during the pandemic, like having like doing like the streaming, like the live streams like on Twitch or whatever, really kind of like allowed me to also just experiment more with like with house music and go places like I might not have gone. I wouldn't go like in my like every set, but like having like every, once a week where I was like on like line, like playing for people and digging into like all this like different music that I had and was finding and, getting a little more like vocally with like stuff and just being like, I'm just going to play this. Like, it's fun. Like, I don't really care anymore, and that's definitely, I've held on to that like since, and I'm just like, I'm just going to play what I like. And I think people like it. And I feel like I can go into like a lot of different styles of like house music.
100%. And leading up to that, I mean, you mentioned like being a little burnt out on the label and being a little uninspired pre-pandemic. Is that part of it as well that, did you feel like there was some baggage to the project at that point? Like that people expected a certain sound or that other sounds you might be interested in wouldn't fit what you had established as the project at that point?
I mean, I didn't really think of it in that way. I think I was just like truly kind of just like, it seems like a great moment to stop. Yeah. Everything in the world's stopping right now. And it just felt for me like, let's take a step back from this and I wasn't sure if I was going to just like end it, but then it just ended up being like that. I was like, oh, this feels like kind of like a weight's lifted off my shoulders too, like doing this label, and kind of felt like, yeah, like at the beginning, I was really into it, really excited. It was really fun. I was like, getting connected with really cool people in the scene and people from all over the world, and that felt really, really fun. And then towards the end, I was just like, okay, I got to find more tracks. Like, I got to like put out like 12 like tracks like a year from people. Like, they need to be like good, and just like that's, I don't know, struggle like just always like searching for something, and
it's never ending. Yeah, as somebody who's done a weekly podcast for like a decade, it's just such a grind. it never ends.
Doing anything for like 10 years, like in that aspect, where you have to like produce content and stuff, Yeah, it gets to be a bit,
Yeah. Oh, definitely. Yeah, I relate 100% to that. I'm in a similar space right now. I'm putting this podcast on indefinite hiatus starting next year for a while.
Yeah, you need a break from things. Like, I don't know. I took a break from like writing music like last year, and it felt really good, and I've like definitely like found like inspiration again, and it feels new and exciting again. Like, but I needed that.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I mean, that was going to be my next question, and I asked this to a lot of people. Open-ended question, no wrong answer, but like, what's the most fun part of what you're doing right now? What's the part of it that you're most excited to do?
It's making the music right now. Like, I've been like in a great like flow for like the last like couple of months, and I was like wondering, I was like, oh gosh, like, am I gonna find like my inspiration again? And we had this Dirtybird flight week where we all like were in the studio with like different people doing this boot camp, or is this a writing boot camp? And I went into that being like, gosh, like, am I good? Like, I'm going with like all these other like amazing producers, and just like go in there and like, you definitely have like, just like, yeah, am I like really like a good producer? Am I just, fooling myself and going in there and like having like a really fun time with everybody and making a lot of really fun music, like really quick. And that's where Smokeshow was like created. Like really sparked me again, and I've been back like just doing like a lot of like some fun writing with myself, worked on some other collaborations. Like, I just finished up something with Vanessa that I'm like really excited about, and did one with like Baby Weight as well that I'm excited to do, and I've just been writing like a lot of like music, like, I don't know, more music than I normally do in a shorter period of time. Like finished like a track like within like a week or so, and I'm just like, oh my goodness, it's coming out of me again.
Oh, that's great. Are you kind of just enjoying that moment, or do you have sort of a larger vision for where you're looking to take it next?
I'm just enjoying like creating, and now it's just, but it's also not like the process of like trying to figure out where the songs go and shopping it around, which is the part that I like really don't like to do.
Yeah.
I just wish I had somebody who could just like go shop them for me. It's like, just tell me when it gets like signed.
Yeah. Well, hey, you could just start a label, right? Put it out yourself.
Yeah, I know. I can start a label again.
I'm kidding. Yeah.
No, that's always in the background. We just start another thing. I don't know.
I mean, you could do it just for your own music, take away the pressure of having to do it on a schedule or with other people involved,
Yeah, definitely. Oh, trust me, I know. I know that happens. It starts off with like your own songs, and then it turns into everybody else.
Oh, yeah. There is that.
That's how the old label started off, as just for me. And then then I started signing. I was like, oh, this is really good. I got to put this song out.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Maybe don't open the door again.
Yeah.
Are you still on the road fairly often? Is that something, do you like being on the road?
No, I mean, it's a little more tiring and stuff. I just was mostly like writing, around here, trying to like hopefully spark up like the interest in me again, to like get back out there on the road like a little bit more. And I do love like playing for crowds. Like DJing is like another like aspect I really just enjoy, like the special moments where you like just like really connect with the people, you know, and you're in the same way like I'm in the flow with like the music writing, but like the DJing like flow is like such an amazing like feeling. And obviously, like you probably know too, like you're just like,
oh yeah,
just like the next record like you choose just feels like the perfect like piece to the puzzle, and you know, you're like, how long is this puzzle gonna like this flow gonna last? And you fall out of it eventually. Darn it, okay, no,
yeah. No, it's a constant. It's so addictive that way because it's so amazing while you're doing it. Obviously, then you can't keep it up forever, and then the second it's gone, you're just trying to get back there. It's one of my favorite parts about any of it, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, I love the like the DJ experience. It's its own thing, you know, just like choosing music for people to dance to, and just like, I think they're gonna like this one. And they really get down, and you're like, yes.
I mean, is it crazy to you to see how far into the mainstream house has gotten at this point? It's so different from the era we were talking about when you and I were getting started, just in terms of how many people know it and like it. And I mean, I think it's perceived differently. Like it's not an underground thing. It's, you know, I think some of the culture has been lost in a bad way, but at the same time, so many more people are into the music now that there's all these possibilities. I don't know, it's an interesting time.
I think it was inevitable that like it was going to get there, because obviously like I'm like looking over at Europe like that entire time, like in the early 90s and the aughts, and like it was already there and it was like big. It was super big there. And we're like, well, why isn't it big here? But I was just like, well, this is going to be the next thing that blows up here. I was like, there's no doubt in my mind. Like rock's at its moment, and like we keep on like, I don't know, like this is like the music that was probably going to start taking over. And it really did, you know. I even saw like in the hip hop, like then they were starting to sample like dance music records and everything.
Yeah. And there was that, you know, that pop moment too, late 2000s, early 2010s with Calvin Harris, David Guetta. I mean, every pop song was, you know, essentially a dance song.
Yeah, definitely. And I knew it like back in the 2000s, and I was just like, yeah, it's eventually this is gonna like hit on like some level, you know.
Yeah. Well, I think it's really commendable isn't exactly the word I mean, but I think it's just very impressive that over the course of your career, I mean, you have a really strong body of work, aside from the fact that, you know, you've been very prolific and have put out a lot of music. I was really noticing, like, even going back to listening to a lot of those old tracks, I think a lot of it really stands up. I get it. This is just me paying you a compliment that I think you have a really impressive catalog that holds up a lot better than some people who have been doing this for a while.
Oh, that's really nice to hear, you know? Me to like go back and like, I don't know, sometimes I like, you know, listen to some of my older stuff, but it's a little hard for me just because I'm just like, oh, sonically I could have done like so much better here, you know? Like sure. You grow with like, as you grow as a producer, I don't know. But yeah, sometimes I go back, I hear someone will play a song, like, this is when your old was. And I'm like, I don't remember making this.
Right.
Times, so like,
well, you could always go back and, you know, remaster a couple of the old classics too.
That's totally true. You're going to give them like a new, like, work over. But I don't know, you know.
Yeah. Not that you have to, but it just stuck out to me because I think, you know, sometimes if you go back and listen to really early stuff from it could be anyone. I'm not calling anyone out, but, you know. I think by the time you were putting music out, it was already to a quality level that still holds up today. I guess that's all I'm saying.
Thanks. Awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. Is there anything we haven't talked about? Anything that's on your mind or you want to get out there?
I mean, not really. Like, I mean, just like, obviously just, Smokeshow's out, and hopefully like get some new stuff out like in the first quarter of like the new year. I think I'm going to be pretty busy with releases, hopefully. Fingers crossed.
I mean, I look forward to that. The only other, you know, if we're sort of going along the timeline here, we talked about the early years. We talked about the current years. What was going on in the middle there? Like sort of once you were established, but still, you know, like the 2010s era, well before the pandemic, but also well after, you know, Dirtybird had been established and people knew you as an artist with a sound.
Yeah,
What was that time period?
I mean, that time period was just, yeah, that was like lots and lots of travel for me, like going all over the world and, yeah, getting to go like Australia and like South America and stuff and Europe. Yeah, super exciting. Like when it like really started like popping off and like, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to like Europe and I'm going here, going there and just super busy. Trying not to drink too much.
I mean, if you look back, was it good times for the most part?
Yeah, it was super good times, you know. Like, I mean, there's a bit of a struggle too, just being like, oh, I'm gonna get to like the level that I want to be at, you know. Like I felt like I was like very good at Justin in Berkeley in a way. And but yeah, for the most part, like yeah, really good times and just getting to make the really cool music and yeah, like letting go of like the job and like just doing this like full time was a pretty amazing moment and it actually happening.
Right. Well, and it sounds like maybe you were able to process that in the moment a little bit too, because sometimes I think these big changes and successes and wins happen, but because you're working so hard at the time and you're just focused and doing a lot, traveling, playing shows, I think it can be hard to appreciate that it's like, oh, the thing I wanted, I'm actually getting now, you know?
Yeah. No, I think it's like hard to like in the moment, like be super like, oh, like I'm actually doing this. I should be like super happy, you know? I can see like, I think everybody kind of fall into that like a little bit, you know, and just being like grateful for it all. And maybe I wasn't as grateful like as I should have been like at the moment, but looking back, I'm like, I was like, those were cool times, you know?
Yeah. Well, I guess as a way to kind of wrap it up, again, completely open-ended question, no wrong answer. What's the point now for you? Like what keeps you going? What keeps you engaged? What's important about what you're doing?
Like I said, like was, you know, wondering if like I was going to make music anymore and just that there is something still within me that like that wants to come out. It was really exciting from that, like from the writing camp. Like I was like, I don't know if there's anything left in me, any creativity like left, you know, in this way. And once it like started flowing out of me again, and it felt like even more exciting than like it did as it has in a long time, I would say. So for me, it's just like hopefully I can just like keep that like that flow going and keep feeling inspired and just, you know, just letting the music come out of me and being like excited with the music I'm playing and the creative like flows that like can be created these days. And I don't know, like I'm excited by like all like the like crazy AI stuff that's like, you know, helping to.
Are you using any of it?
Yeah, I use it like, you know, with some like the mastering and EQing. There's some like really cool like AI stuff out there. You know, I mess with like Suno a bit, like even like Splice, they have like the AI that like helps you, you know, throw some different samples together that would sound well. Just like, I don't know, just, yeah, I mean, not like letting the AI like write like the music for me, but like, you know, help me get things like going quicker, I guess, which excites me a lot. And just being like, oh, there's some inspiration, you know, like, you know, I use like Suno in the same way that I use for Splice. Like I'll like throw like some ideas for like a song into like the thing and see what happens. And most of the time it's crap. Yeah. But sometimes there's a sound that I'm like, oh, I could like write something around that, you know? Same way that I use like Splice. Like I have to hear like something for it to like, for me to, you know, snap and things to start like going off of me. Like,
yeah, totally. No, I think that's, I mean, in my opinion, sort of the correct way to use those tools is just little inspiration starters, you know, sort of purpose built for this is the part where sometimes I slow down and I'd like it to be accelerated, and then that'll get me back into the flow faster. To me, that's like how all of those tools should be used, you know?
Yeah, definitely. And so like, yeah, that's been really exciting. And I've been really, I don't know, like during this like off time, like I was doing a lot of just research on like engineering and, you know, mastering and all that kind of stuff, mix downs and getting better at that. And I was already pretty good at it, but I think I've like taken myself up to like in the next level for myself. And that feels really good and exciting. And I'm just like, oh, I can like really get my songs like sounding really good now.
I love hearing that kind of while you were talking, you made me start thinking too about, it's just something beautiful on like a basic human level of, because I think what I took from what you were saying is like, we can kind of have these ideas of ourselves in our head that sort of harden or calcify and get stuck of like, well, this is who I am and what I do and what I can do. And every once in a while we get those moments that break us out of it of like, oh, I guess I don't know what I'm talking about really. I can be a bunch of different stuff. I'm a different person every day. And that applies to music as well. And I think that's a really freeing kind of idea. I think that's a nice note to leave it on, that when we sort of take ourselves out of the equation, get out of our own way, there's never any end to it unless you want it to be the end. Like there's always potential for more.
There is no end to like the learning process in music. I've like realized like, I mean, I will go like on YouTube and watch somebody produce like a song and just being like, just out of boredom, like, oh, I got burned out, but like I'm gonna watch like someone create a like song, whether it's like maybe Chris like writing a song or some like random person like just like showing their process, and you can take away like so much from just like watching different people like create. And I don't know, for anybody who's out there like making music and or just starting, like really going to the school of YouTube is like pretty amazing to like get inspired and learn new things and just keep moving forward with your music production.
Yeah. 100%. It's out there waiting for you. Yeah. I love that. This was so nice. Thank you so much for taking the time to do it. It was really fun chatting with you.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Cool. I'll let you go, but have a great rest of your day.
You too.
Okay. Nice to talk to you. Bye-bye.